Welcome back to the ongoing saga as we talk about this $5.7 billion wall on the Mexican border. For me, it goes beyond politics. It's a matter of spending all of this money to try to stop a problem, but it's a matter of looking at the fundamental issue. And something I have brought up is the people that are in favor of spending all this money on the wall have these values. It's all about the hardworking American people. But what I'm telling you, what I'm saying, my perspective is, these are hardworking, undocumented, often Mexican workers coming in illegally, and they're hardworking. So we have a value on hard workers, and these Mexican people are hardworking. They're taking the jobs that don't pay enough for us to do, and they're very hard manual labor that we don't want to do. So we value hard work. But if it's coming from someone who's not a citizen of America, undocumented Mexican, then it doesn't matter that they're hardworking, because then they're taking our job. But again, it's a job that we don't want. And then I say, like I said in my last video, well, what about the fact that we've got a bloated welfare system where someone can say, oh, my back, and then they don't work, and then they get... So there's that going on where we've got people who are actually Americans, but taking advantage of the system. And then there's also the homeless population who are Americans, but they're not part of our workforce. So for me, and what I would love to know the numbers, is ultimately who's a bigger burden to our financial structure here in America? Who's actually costing us more money? And if we're going to spend $5.7 billion to keep undocumented Mexicans out from taking the jobs we don't want because they're too hard and pay too little, meanwhile we have all these people who are Americans living off of welfare? I mean, and then people say, well, what about the children of the undocumented Mexicans? Okay, well, even then, if we had a weighted scale and we put all of that because of undocumented Mexican laborers and their children versus people who are already Americans living off of the welfare system, taking advantage of it, and then we've got, and if we're putting so much value on hardworking people, then what about homeless people who could, in theory, take the jobs that the undocumented Mexican workers already have and find a way to do even without being documented? So to me, that's the complexity of the issue. It's not about politics. It's about all those things. And a wall is not simply going to solve those issues, not the way that I see it. And then someone has recently brought up, well, what about drugs though? The undocumented Mexican people are bringing in illegal drugs into America. Well, it goes back to the black market. The United States government themselves turns a blind eye to undocumented Mexican workers because they understand that they're part of our infrastructure here, that they, if it weren't for them, who would be taking these jobs we don't want? Well, yeah, but they bring drugs into America. Yes, because we have made a big deal about drugs, making sure that they're illegal. And now that we're reforming laws on marijuana, what that's doing is it's taking value away from people who would normally do that illegally, and we're making it legitimate and taxing it. So a lot of this has to do with the black market. We give power to the black market when we turn a blind eye to certain things that are going to be happening anyway. And so I've yet to be convinced that spending $5.7 billion is going to solve the problem to keep undocumented Mexicans out, but more importantly, what we're going to do with that absence in our workforce. It's crucial. What are we going to do? Who's going to step up? Who's going to start taking those jobs? Who is going to go work at the slaughterhouse and start slaughtering animals? Who's going to be picking all the fruit and vegetables? Who's going to be painting? Who's going to be building houses and not expecting benefits and willing to do it for very little money? To me, that's the problem. What are we going to do when that workforce is gone? And is it worth spending $5.7 billion to do that? And we're saying, well, we've got a drug problem and that's why people are on welfare. Well, again, we're giving power to the black market by keeping drugs illegal in the first place. So I am very curious to see, now that laws are changing on marijuana, how that's going to change things to some degree, because that's less power being given to the Mexican drug cartel. It's complicated, and I'm not here to say that I have all the answers, but I am here to say I just have basic confusion about this whole thing, about what we're going to do with the missing workforce. And whether that's worth $5.7 billion when we've got issues of our own, people abusing our own welfare system. That's what I'm not hearing enough conversation about. Instead, it feels more just about a political thing. And I'm not interested in the political part. I'm interested in these basic questions I've asked. So help me out. Let's keep this thing going. Comment section right here.